Hello there everybody, how's it going? It's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on FlossTube, and I am coming to you on this Monday, March 25th, 2024, with my next update video. It's been a couple of weeks since my last update, and today I have a little window here to be able to do so here we are. Before I get into everything though, welcome everybody. Welcome to both my returning viewers as well as anybody who is new here. Maybe you're here for the first time. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. I very much appreciate it. On this channel I talk mostly about cross stitch, though sometimes I will talk about books and knitting. Knitting I will have to talk about next time. I got some yarn that is going to be delivered today. For the 24 Birds Mystery Knit Along by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. And I'm so geeked about it, so as soon as that arrives, I'll be casting on today. I'm a little bit behind because it started sometime last week, but nonetheless, I'm going to get it started today. I'm really geeked about that. I haven't done any serious knitting in a while, so it's going to be an undertaking to go for an MCAL by Helen Stewart. But anyway, before I go off on that tangent for too long, today we do have some books to talk about in addition to the cross-stitch stuff. I have some recent reads, I have some recent acquisitions, and I have some plans. And the same is kind of true for stitching as well. I have the projects that I have worked on over the last few weeks, and I have some plans. So a little bit to get to, but maybe not a ton. So let's go ahead and get started. Before I start with the whips though, I have to send out a huge thank you to Sarah. Sarah bought me a coffee using my Buy Me a Coffee link in the description box of my video. Sarah, thank you so much. That was so appreciated, and I'm really grateful for anybody who uses that Buy Me a Coffee link. Under no obligation, so please feel no pressure, but thank you to those who do. Let's get into the works in progress, for which I have not a lot. I have been fairly, not really monogamous, but just really focused on large goals. And so that is reflected here in the 3 projects that I have to show you for the last couple of weeks. So let's get into it. First up in this project bag, this is a brass button bag. I love this. And in here lives my Personal Sunshine. Personal Sunshine is by Heaven and Earth Designs. The artist is Jeremiah Kettner. Since Jeremiah Kettner is no longer with HAED, this is a retired chart. So this is my focus piece for the year. I've got it broken up into 12 to see the finish by the end of the year. My Stitch Pal tells me that I need to do I think 750 stitches a day, and I could see the finish in June. I'm gonna not do that, but I'm highly tempted. I put in the calculations to see what it would take for me to get a finish while at StitchCon, but I'm not going to do that because I want to break this up. I don't want to get burnout, and in order to accomplish that, this would have to be pretty much the only thing I work on until then. So that's not going to work. But anyway, so I was working on this towards the page 9 finish, which is this page here. So this Quarter of the Sun. We dipped into a little bit of hair that kind of popped up in this page. You can kind of see the break between the threads that are parked here versus over here. So that's pretty much where our page break was. And got into the flowers on the branch that's kind of curling around here. So yeah, I worked on this for quite a few days before my trip. And then, as I mentioned in my last video, my mom and my brother and I went to Michigan for a few days to have a celebration of life with family, a super low-key, kind of informal get-together to celebrate my Aunt Colleen's life. So we were gone for a few days, and then when I got back, I dived headfirst into this to see the page finish early last week. It took me a couple more days, I think this page 9 took me a total of 12 stitching days. Spaced out over several weeks. I love it so much. I really do. So speaking of, there is like a drive to work on this to the finish by June, but I'm gonna instead go with the plan there is a motivation to just go up here and finish this last quarter of the sun, because that will finish out, zero out so many colors. I have so many colors that will finish out just by completing the sun. But I think I'm going to go in order. I think I'm going to go in page order instead of jumping ahead to finish the sun, and just do things in their own time. The next page that I have, page 14 down here, is her face. It's her face and the rest of her arm up to her shoulder. And so that's really exciting. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I will finish the sun probably, I'm thinking the sun is probably going to be sometime in June or July. So yeah, so that's the plan there. So my monthly goal is 5,500 stitches on this piece, as I've said so many times this year. And this page finish was 7,300. So I have about 1,700 stitches towards my next goal. And so I can either go for 5,500 stitches next month to finish the page, or just the 3,800 to meet my April requirement, my stitch count requirement. So we'll see. We'll see. When we talk about plans here in just a little bit, maybe that will help elucidate what my plan may be. There was another milestone that I reached, a couple of them actually. So in my last video, I had my first 0 up here, and I had 2 more 0s down here in this hot pink flower. One of the other pink flowers has 1 stitch of a color that was used in here. I really thought I was going to get 3 0s, but nope. So I have just 1 stitch of a pink somewhere around. So I have 3 of 85 colors zeroed out. The other milestone I reached is that I have done more stitches on this piece than I did all of last year. And last year the goal was 8 pages and I did not get there. And now this year I have 3 pages and way more stitches than I managed last year all told. So that's kind of cool. I like seeing milestones like that, comparing. So that is Personal Sunshine. Fabric is a 25 count antique white Lugana from Zweigart. It's not gridded, it never was. And I'm stitching this 1/1 full cross with the called for DMC Anchor Black instead of DMC 310, as I do. So there is Personal Sunshine. After the page finish on Personal Sunshine, I spun my whip wheel and it pulled a piece that lives in this project bag. This is a bag by Black Cat X Stitchery. And in here lives my monthly Quaker series by From the Heart Needleart by Wendy. So the last one that I was working on was the May Quaker. And there we go. That is what this one is meant to look like. And I took this piece with me to Michigan. I didn't stitch very much. There was a lot more cards than stitching time. So I did stitch a little bit one of the days, but not a whole lot. So I pulled this out after the page finish on Personal Sunshine and worked on it for like I think 2 or 3 days and got it finished. It was so fast. By the time I got it in my frame and I was in my space here at home, it went really quickly. As expected, this motif was wicked fast, and then the rest were basically tiny by comparison. So this is a 28 count antique white cashel linen from Zweigart. I'm stitching these 1/1 full cross with the DMC conversion that Wendy provides. These are charted in Classic Colorworks, but since I'm stitching it tiny and I don't have a huge stash of Classic Colorworks, I decided to go with the DMC. So I really love how this one turned out. as mentioned, the purples are not as purple. They are more berry colored in the DMC version, but I am not bothered. I really, really like how this one turned out. I really enjoyed doing this motif. And I liked this one too. I like all of them. Who am I kidding? I mean, they're all really, really pretty. So that is a finish on May Quaker, and I think that that is my 6th finish for the year. I think I'm up to 6 finishes this year. That's pretty great. I am here for that. So that is May Quaker. And this is a piece that is my small monthly goal. So my small monthly goal for these is 1 large motif. So this satisfied my goal, but obviously I just had to go ahead and finish it. So that's pretty exciting, and we'll get June started here, coming up here pretty quick. I finished May Quaker on this past Friday, Friday the 22nd. And for those paying attention at home, perhaps you have noticed that up until this point, I hadn't gotten to any of my full coverage WIPGO. The focus this year is supposed to be on full coverage, and we were over 2/3 of the way into the month, and I still hadn't pulled out any of my full coverage WIPGO. So it was high time. Fortunately, the whip wheel cooperated, and it pulled this piece, also in a brass button bag. I think this bag is just super duper cool. Really cool. And in here lives a Ravenkin. So preview here of what this will look like finished. This is also a retired artist from Heaven and Earth Design, so it's unfortunately no longer available. I started this piece in October of 2019. It's not been a focus piece yet, and it's not going to be for some time yet, but it was really good to get to it. So my WIPGO goal was to get to the half page point, and by that I mean half of whatever I had left of the page, which I think was 6,400 stitches-ish was what I had left of the page, and so I needed to do 3,200 stitches. And this was really fast. really, really, really fast. I didn't do anything extraordinary, but I got the goal done in 3 days. Now the coverage looks terrible on camera. It looks better in real life, so don't judge it too harshly. It looks so much better in real life. I really wish you got to see that. Sometimes if I tilt it, oh, that's better. It's a little better. You can kind of see some of the colors a little better rather than the fabric show through, which I just don't see in real life. It's just so funny. But anyway, yeah, I was really excited to work on this again, even though I'm in really boring background. I mean, it's really boring. It goes fast, but I'm not having the most fun. I'll be honest. Getting this first raven silhouette did help. So you can see the wing of that raven there. So that helps. So as we move closer to the center, the light starts showing a little bit more. So the colors are shifting. So getting to some different background colors, nonetheless background colors, but getting to some different background colors also helps. It definitely helps. It's not 823 and 939 all the way through. Just a third. Just a third of the way through. So anyway, really excited to have made some good progress. I crossed the 5% mark on this piece finally in 4.5 years, give or take. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to reach that milestone. I finally got this one fully kitted. I picked up all of the threads that I needed. I needed 8 skeins each of 823 and 939. 8 skeins each. If you look at the mass of threads, you would think this piece was mostly blue looking rather than really quite dark, but those are dark blues anyway. So that is Ravenkin, and this is going to be a really good one for like distance viewing. 3-foot rule. So that's Ravenkin. I find that posting on Instagram and filming FlossTube, I can be a little bit redundant. A lot of the things that I show on my FlossTube channel, you saw yesterday on Instagram. So I try really hard to time things out so that YouTube gets to see something that Instagram hasn't yet. So for instance, if you're watching my FlossTube channel, you are more often than not getting what I'm currently working on, whereas Instagram, you only know that yesterday I finished the goal on Ravenkin. And on Instagram, you got to see that before I'm showing it here. So I try as best I can to time it out so that there's not as much redundancy. You also get more of my plans on FlossTube than I show on Instagram. So there's that. So yesterday I finished the goal on Ravenkin. I spun my whip wheel and it pulled secret stitch. So I don't have anything to show you, but you know that I'm working on secret stitch that Instagram never sees. So I guess there's that. So that's what I'm currently working on. I'm hoping to finish out that goal either today or first thing tomorrow. It is a stitch count goal of 1,000 stitches. It's one of my small monthly goals. So I'm hoping to finish that out either today or tomorrow. And then, so this is going to segue us into some plans, some upcoming plans, as well as my plans for April. So, for the rest of the week through Sunday, Easter Sunday, the 31st, I have one more small monthly goal to do after this one, and that is Summer Sampler. So I'm hoping to get my 300 stitches and maybe a little extra if I have the time to do it. And then I have one more full coverage WIPGO goal, and that is Magic Study. I talked about working on Magic Study in my last video during WIPGO weekend, and that never came to pass. So I have a full 3,200 stitches to do on Magic Study. That may not get accomplished here in March. It may carry over into April. We'll kind of wait and see. Currently, my spreadsheets tell me that in order to accomplish my very minimum goal, I need to do about 650 stitches a day, which isn't impossible, but 650 stitches on Magic Study is a taller order. So we'll kind of wait and see how that works out. If for whatever reason this part of Magic Study zooms, and I don't expect that because we're getting into the chandelier, but you never know. If this next section zooms really fast, then if I accomplish all of those goals, then on Sunday I am going to work on Jane Walker by the Scarlet letter. I didn't bring any of this to show you because I've shown it all very recently, and you'll just see it next time if and when I get to it. So Jane Walker on Sunday if I accomplish all of my goals beforehand. Okay, so then Monday is April 1st. Okay, so let's get into plans for April. This morning, the WIPGO draws for April went live. I did the draws yesterday, and so I've been kind of thinking about this and trying to work through my plans ever since. So, first up, we're going to talk about the non-full coverage because that's fairly straightforward. Numbers 18 and 21 were called, and my number 18 is living in this project bag. This is by Fab Shabby Rose. You can find them on Etsy, which I will link in the description box below. They are also in the Stash Unloading Cross Stitch Facebook group. Every now and again I see them posting project bags, which is actually where I got this one. So anyway, in here lives my Farmhouse Christmas. Now, maybe you remember, this was actually a call for me for January, but I wasn't in the mood for Christmas stitching back then, and so I flip-flopped some things on my WIPGO board. I'm still not totally in the mood for Christmas stitching, but I'm not making any more changes. So we're going to work on this. So I have technically 6 or 7 blocks done. Let me think. 1, 2, 3. So here's number 1. I don't know what number these are. Maybe 2. Maybe 4. And then on this piece, I have several. Okay, so I have 7 blocks done of 9. So I have 2 more blocks left to do completely. And then I need to go through on these 2 and add in the outside borders. Because I had a plan and I forgot my plan and I messed up. So anyway, so I need to go add in the borders for those and then stitch the last 2 blocks. So this could potentially be a finish in April, or I'm going to save 2 of the blocks for StitchCon because it seems that finishing Farmhouse Christmas blocks at Retreat was my thing last year. So maybe I'll save the last few stitches of each of those 2 blocks for June. We'll kind of wait and see. I am super motivated by finishes right now. So yeah, so we'll see. I'm stitching these on 32 count Belfast linen in flax from Zweigart, using mostly the called for threads. So it's a mix of Classic Colorworks and DMC. So I'm using the called for Classic Colorworks. The only exception there is the white. I have subbed for DMC 3865, just to simplify my life. I don't love like a quote-unquote hand-dyed white. I'm much more likely to sub that out for a DMC. So that's what I've done here. So a couple more blocks left to do, and then this old whip will be a finish. So that's kind of cool. The other reason that I'm not changing this is that this project has a whip birthday in April, so maybe I'll work on it on its whip birthday. That would be fun. Okay, my other non-full coverage draw was, conveniently enough, I don't know how this is working out, but the June Quaker by From the Heart Needleart by Wendy. So I will get June started, and that is to look like this. And I have my threads pulled. They look pretty close to the Classic Colorworks, so I'm pretty excited about that. Again, my small monthly goal is a large motif, but for WIPGO, my goal is going to be 1,500 stitches. So we'll see how far I get with that. At the very least, my large motif is going to be this top one. So I'll probably do the cat, the sunflower, and this large motif, and then see how far I am towards that 1,500 stitch goal. So that is June Quaker. So those are the non-full coverage WIPGO goals for April. Now let's talk about the full coverage goal. Here's how you know I am extraordinarily honest with the calls. I had projects in mind. I was trying to influence the universe. I was trying really hard to get a couple of specific projects called for April. And it did not happen at all. I got one project for both 18 and 21. The second time this year this has happened. I love this piece. I'm excited to get this page finished, but I really wanted my Sweet Summertime by Contemporary Cross to come out and Quick Stitch Day and Night, because those were 2 April starts. Quick Stitch Day and Night in 2020, it was a birthday start, and Sweet Summertime was a start last April. I was really looking forward to that. I mean, April's my birthday month. But I went with the calls. Danny was like, well, you run the thing, so why don't you just redraw? And I'm like, I know, but that's dishonest. And so I'm just going to go with what it says. And so I'm going to put in almost 6,000 stitches into Dark Waters. So I'm really excited about this piece. I really love this project. I started this in 2020, and it has not seen the love that it very much needs and very much deserves. It's a large piece. So preview here of what this will look like finished. I have cropped this just a very little bit. So you're seeing the full image. I've taken off a total of 65 stitches off the width. So I think 20 stitches off the left and 45 stitches off the right or something like that to accommodate my fabric. I had a piece of fabric that was long enough but not quite wide enough for the whole thing. So that is the plan, and this is going to be a lot like Ravenkin. It's going to go really fast because there's like nothing going on up top here. In fact, a lot like Ravenkin, I think I'm going to get into a bird silhouette, much smaller bird silhouette in this bottom right corner. So yeah, so not a whole lot happening here. There's a lot of 3768, I think, and 3750. So lighter than the 823 and 939 of Ravenkin. But yeah, yep, it's going to go fast, but it's not going to be the most interesting. So let's talk about full coverage for a second. Because the goal is to get the page finish on this one, tentatively, I think I'm just going to go for the 3,800 that I need for my monthly goal towards Personal Sunshine. If I get to that 3,800 and I just want to keep going that extra 1,800 to the page finish, then I will. But that's kind of a discretionary situation. My hope is to average one page a month for however long I can do that, hopefully beyond the calendar year. And this will get me my April page finish. So there is that. So I am participating this year in By the Numbers with Full Coverage Fanatics. They have 4 tiers. So there is a 500 stitch tier, there's a 1,000 stitch tier, a 2,000 stitch tier, and a 5,000 stitch tier. So for April, I'm going to do 5,000 stitches on Dark Waters, 2,000 on Personal Sunshine, 1,000 on Secret Stitch, and then the extra 500 stitches, I'm not quite sure what to do. I could either just allocate the remaining 700 some odd stitches of this to that 500. I could do the same with Personal Sunshine. Or I could pull out another full coverage piece. So I am going to enlist your help. I'm going to put up chart covers here for you to help me decide which of these 4 you think I should put at least 500 stitches, maybe 1,000 into in the month of April. So we have Sweet Summertime by Contemporary Cross. As I mentioned, I really wanted that one to come up for me for April, and it didn't happen. So 500 stitches into that. I'm also maybe interested in working on Haunted House by Heaven and Earth Designs artwork by Donna Gelsinger. So preview here of what that one will look like. That piece is humongous, and so some extra stitches would be great. I am thinking Cherry Blossom Breezes, which I started in February. That could use some more love because it's a recent start, and so I'd really like to give it some more attention. Or Over the River. Over the River I started in November of last year. It got the tiniest little start of just 1,300 stitches. Just a really, really sad start. So an extra 500 plus stitches might be fun to put into that one. So place your votes. Sweet Summertime, Haunted House, Cherry Blossom Breezes, or Over the River. I've got like all 4 seasons represented there. That's pretty cool. So which one would you like? Spring, summer? Well, I guess I don't really have no, Haunted House is fall. Yeah, I've got all 4 seasons there. So which one do you think I should add into the mix? Or do you think I should put those 500 stitches, just allocate Dark Waters or Personal Sunshine or something like that? Let me know. Let me know what your thoughts. So that is the full coverage plan. One more thing. So Ivory Crow by Margaret Morales. That is regularly making its way to the front of my mind. I'm not in the mood for new starts really right now, but that one I could be tempted to start. However, I have decided to impose my I need as many page finishes as full coverage whips that I have in order to start another one. And today, that is 17. I need 17 page finishes anywhere amongst my projects in order to be able to start Ivory Crow. I should be able to do that this year, at some point this year, but it's not going to be a right now kind of scenario. And I decided to start this clock after starting Cherry Blossom Breezes. So I have now had, I think, 3 page finishes. I think 3 page finishes towards that. 2 on Personal Sunshine and 1 on Avarice, towards that 17. So that's that. So I'm hoping to be able to start Ivory Crow in the fall, maybe sooner. We'll see how it works out, but I'm really geeked about it. I'm starting to work on getting it kitted up and ready to go. Because like I said, I'm not in the mood for starts, but that one I need to start. So I don't need any more HAEDs, but need is not the word. So those are the plans for April, plus my 5 small monthly goal pieces. And maybe some bonus stitching if there's time on Jane Walker, and also My Day Complete by Kathy Barrick. Those were 2 things that I thought maybe if I piecemealed them, I could get them finished this year. So those are the plans. As far as haul is concerned, I know I have one of the fabulous houses in my mailbox, but it's in my mailbox. And I also got a fabric of the month from Color and Cotton, but other than that, no haul to speak of. Other than that yarn coming today. Very excited. So we are going to switch over. We're going to change topics and we're going to start talking about some books. I have a couple of brief reviews and some recent acquisitions and some upcoming plans. So let's dive in. If you are not here for the books, then I will see you in the next one. If you are, settle in. Okay, so we're going to start off with a couple of reviews, really super fast commentary on some books that I have read recently. As previously mentioned, I am reading the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas, and then I will read the A Court of Thorns and Roses series in anticipation of reading that behemoth, the third in the Crescent City series, but to make sure I have a better understanding of the Maas first before I get in there. This month I did a couple of rereads. So the first was Throne of Glass. I listened to this on audiobook. This is obviously one of the older covers. With this one's interesting. Every time I listen to this or read it again, and I think this was my 4th read of it, it's not even a favorite book, so I can't believe I've read it 4 times now. But anyway, I like this a little less. I really do. I find Selina more annoying the further I get into this. I really, really do. So, it was good that I got through it pretty quickly. Just a real quick synopsis. Throne of Glass is about a young woman. Her name is Selina Sardathian. At the start of the book, she is at Endovier, which is a salt mine labor camp. It's really more of a death camp. She is chosen by the Crown Prince to be his champion. His father needs essentially somebody to do his dark bidding, and to entertain himself in his court. He has decided to set up this competition, and so each of the members of court get to choose a champion, and the Crown Prince chooses Selina as his champion, and so she starts participating in this competition. People start dying of really gruesome circumstances, so she is sort of set on the quest to figure out what the heck is going on, try to survive, so that she can hopefully become the king's champion, and potentially earn her freedom. She is a young, world-renowned assassin, but they aren't really totally, like, the world isn't really totally sure who she is, who this Adarlan's assassin is. I almost said Andarna, which is why my brain kind of short-circuited there. So that's kind of the premise, the basic premise of what this one's about. Like I said, I find her to be super annoying in this one. There's definitely like princess vibes, and having read Assassin's Blade, I kind of see a backstory, like a total, like where that originated from, and that is a consistent character trait of hers. But in this one, I just find it annoying. As I get older, I think, and further separated from the 19-year-old, 18, 19-year-old, the less I have to relate to her. So anyway, so that is Throne of Glass. This time I think I rated it 3 stars. And that's a fairly generous 3 stars. But I keep rereading it. The only reason I keep rereading it, though, is just to continue on with the series, because I have always wanted to read the whole series, but I can't keep a story in my head for very long, so I need these rereads. Anyway, so finished up Throne of Glass, immediately started Crown of Midnight. This was also a reread. However, it had been a long time since I had read this the first time, and it was only the one time that I read it. And this one, my rating actually went up after reading it the second time. My rating really improved after the second time. The difference between this read and the previous is that I have read The Assassin's Blade. And The Assassin's Blade is a series of prequel novellas, and I feel like this one really kind of harkens back to some of that in a way that I didn't pick up the first time I read this. Like there are some things that are referenced here that are more fleshed out in Assassin's Blade. And so I found that to be pretty great, just to see that those plot lines, those character traits, those just circumstances were consistent through the series. I know that Assassin's Blade, that those stories were written a long time ago, and they were very recently published as an omnibus. So it was just nice to see that Sarah J. Maas has stayed consistent, at least in that respect. So yeah, I found this one to be highly entertaining. It's really fluff, but with a fantasy edge to it, which I appreciate. And I am very much looking forward to getting into Heir of Fire, which is the 3rd book in the series, and it will be my first time through. So I'm excited to see the character arcs and the plots and where this is going. I have a feeling there's heartbreak on the horizon. So we'll see. So that is Crown of Midnight. Okay, so the 3rd book that I have to tell you about came on the recommendation of a bookstagrammer that I follow. I'll insert her handle here. She reads more thrillers. So she's kind of my go-to for thriller recommendations. And she posted a short list not too long ago of several books that she read in one sitting. She just read it cover to cover or start to finish, if it was on audio, because it was just that much of an attention grabber. And so this one is an Audible original. It is only available on audio. And I couldn't get it on my Libby. I'm not sure if Audible is ever going to release it to the libraries, or if it's just an Audible entity and that's the only way you're ever going to get it. It is by Lucinda Berry. Lucinda Berry is kind of a well-known thriller writer. And the name of the book is One of Our Own. Now, the reason that you can listen to this in one sitting is that it's less than 4 hours long, so it's really not very long. But I immediately was interested in this one because it is a production Audible original. And so we have really one, but 2 narrators. But it's more of an acted out audio situation than just a straight reading. And one of the narrators is AJ Cook, who plays JJ on Criminal Minds. So that was kind of cool. It was kind of cool, and also a little bit influential. When they kept mentioning the character's name, I was like, no, that's not her name. Her name is not Felicia. It's JJ. But no, it's Felicia in the book. So, because this book is so short and because it's a thriller, I'm going to tell you next to nothing about it. But our main character, our narrator, Felicia, volunteers part-time at 988, the suicide mental health crisis line. And one night when she's working, she gets a call from a young girl who is in crisis and she has plans to end her life, and she has reasons. And Felicia, in a last-ditch effort, gives her personal cell phone number to this girl before the girl hangs up. And so we follow the story from there. Huge trigger warnings for mental health crisis and for sexual assault. So just be forewarned. Also, difficult to listen to as a parent. So be forewarned. Yeah, it's difficult. And also really strong. Like, really strong. For being so short, that amount of character development is astounding. It's really astounding. I was definitely on the edge of my seat. I could not listen to it all in one sitting because I was home alone when I started listening to it, and it got dark and it was nighttime and I had to go to bed by myself. So I had to pause and finish it the next day. But yeah, really, really strong. So highly recommend to check out One of Our Own by Lucinda Berry. Like I said, it's an Audible original only at this point. So I am currently trying really hard to read The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. It is not the quick satisfaction that I'm in the mood for. It is slow. It is wordy. Donna Tartt really, really, really describes things, which I appreciate. I understand it. I understand that this is a character-driven story, but I'm reading a lot of thrillers and YA fantasy, and so it's hard. Goldfinch is hard right now. I'm going to keep going. I have switched to the audio, and I'm trying to push myself to listen to at least 30 minutes of audio a day. I started that yesterday, so I'm not going to finish that this month, but I'm hoping to in April. Since I have put a pause on Throne of Glass, I have gone back to Written in Red by Anne Bishop. That was one of my bookish WIPGO calls from January, I think. I find it difficult to manage multiple fantasy or paranormal stories at a time. I tend to get characters confused or plot lines confused. So I put a pause on Written in Red, and now I'm back to that. So I'm gonna be reading that one. That is my 30 minutes before bed and at any point during the day kind of a read. So those are the things that I'm currently reading. So let's talk about bookish WIPGO for April. Like I said, we got the WIPGO calls this morning, so I have 2 more books in the ever-growing pile of things to get to in April. So first up, we have The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Now, my bookish WIPGO is comprised of 12 books from the 12 by 12 challenge. 12 people recommended a book to me. I randomly chose 12 of them and then put those on my WIPGO board. The other 12 are 12 random books from my shelves at the time of creating this board. Just random things put in there. This is one of those random already on my shelves. I have the whole series, you can see there. I'm so excited to get into this. I'm really, really geeked about this. Babel is R.F. Kuang's most recent novel, and my brother says that he's struggling with it, so I'm really interested in getting into this to see what this is about. It's more fantasy rather than dark academia, more traditional fantasy with gods and mythology. I'm here for it. So I am really looking forward to getting into this one. My other bookish WIPGO call for April is Jade City by Fonda Lee. Oh, I'm so excited about this. Actually, both of these books. One of my favorite bookstagrammers, she is a little bit flaky. Sometimes she's posting frequently and sometimes she disappears for months at a time. every time she does one of those top 10s or favorite books of all time or whatever, both of these books actually end up on that list. Poppy War I knew about just from various booktubers and bookstagrammers talking about fantasy. Jade City was less familiar to me, but every time she talks about Jade City, I am more and more into it and more into this author fondly. So I'm really geeked about this. It won the World Fantasy Award. I hate a permanent sticker. I really hate those. But anyway, blurbed by Scott Lynch, Ann Leckie, and Ken Liu. Yeah, I'm geeked about this. I'm really excited to dive into this. So yesterday, it was also nominated for the 2017 Nebula. Anyway, so yesterday I took myself on a date. I just needed to get out of the house, and I had an opportunity. So I went to the bookstore and I picked this up. One book can't travel alone, even in the car, just the 5-minute drive to my house. So I picked up 2 other books. So one of these I'm going to get to also in April. And this is A Single Thread by Tracy Chevalier. So this is the book for, Katie, what's it called? Katie, the novel stitcher, started a stitchy book club. Pages and Patterns, maybe. Anyway, so this is the first book that is the selection that we're all going to be reading. So I'm really excited to get into this. I am craving a book club. The more bookish content that I interact with, the more that I really wish I had like a group of 5 or 6 women my age, and we could just get together and talk about these ridiculous books that we read. I really wish that I had that. But in the meantime, until I can find that, I'm really looking forward to this Stitchy Book Club. So I'm going to be reading this starting in April. To go along with that, I might be working towards the finish on June Quaker from the Heart Needleart by Wendy. And the reason for that is A Single Thread. I'm stitching that 1/1. So I feel like those 2 things gonna go well together. So I will be prioritizing this coming up here in April. So those were 2 books I went to the bookstore for, and this one just jumped into my hands because I have wanted to read it. This is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This is spicy. From what I understand, this is way spicier than this cover leads you to think. You think this might be a nice closed door romance? I don't think so. I don't think so with this one. Just based on some of the bookstagrammers that I have seen. So I am really looking forward to testing this out and to reading this. This feels like a good palette cleanser after the Goldfinch. I have a feeling that this will be a faster read, even though it's not tiny. It's almost 400 pages. I feel like this will be a decent palette cleanser after the Goldfinch. I just saw that. I should have gotten another one. But anyway, so there's that. So those are the books that I got yesterday at the bookstore. Just a couple of other books that I've purchased recently. The Queen's Poisoner by Jeff Wheeler. This was a bookish WIPGO call from a previous month that I haven't gotten to yet. I downloaded the audiobook and I don't like it. I don't like the narrator. I don't like it. So I switched to the paperback edition. And so I'm going to be getting into this hopefully pretty soon here. I've got to try to play catch up with bookish WIPGO because I'm way behind. Speaking of which, so the plan is to read Heir of Fire. This was actually a Valentine's Day gift from my husband. So the plan is to get through at least February and maybe even halfway through March of past bookish WIPGO before I let myself read this. Because I want bookish WIPGO to be the priority, but I'd also really like to continue with this. So I'm hoping that I can get to this in April. Making the Goldfinch my audiobook currently means that I can spend my physical reading time on some of the quicker paced things and certainly the shorter things, but I have a lot to get through. I have the two that were just called today, The Queen's Poisoner, written in red, Freezing Order, Leviathan Wicks. I'm way behind. I'm way behind on Bookish WIPGO. So I'm going to try to play catch up before I get into this, but that's coming up. Well, that was a much bigger bookish segment than I expected it to be, but that's okay. I'm really into reading right now. I'm interacting with a lot of bookish content on social media. I'm thinking about the books I want to read. You know, I don't have any motivation to start new cross-stitch projects, but I do have lots of motivation to start 100 books. I won't. Like I said, I struggle with interfering timelines when I'm reading too much of the same thing. So I'm not going to be starting a whole bunch of things, but I'm hoping to get through some books here in the coming weeks. So that's everything. That's all I have to talk to you about today. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for your continued support of me and my channel. My hope is to be back filming not this Friday, but next Friday. So not Good Friday, but the first Friday of April. I think it's the 5th. That's when I hope to be back to film my next update video. So happy stitching, everybody. As always, be kind, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.